The victory stele of Naram-Sin, made of pink sandstone. This is a very old relief sculpture dating from around 2200 BCE. The relief sculpture measures about 6 feet in height. It depicts the king Naram-Sin. Naram-Sin was the great-great-grandson of the founder of the Akkadians, Sargon of Akkad. And Sargon of Akkad took control over the loosely linked city-states of Sumar and brought them together under one supreme ruler, himself. Thus he created an empire, and through his bloodline other kings came to power. This particular stele commemorates a great victory for Naram-Sin, his conquest over the Lulubi people, who were mountain people that lived on the outskirts of ancient Mesopotamia, in the east. Right away we see the composition is different from Mesopotamian art that we've seen before. Instead of being organized into registers or sections, this composition is more chaotic and free. The composition also looks as though it kind of follows the random form of the rock. Even so, the composition is organized. In fact, we see that there is one figure who stands out among the others. He is the largest figure and he represents Naram-Sin himself. Naram-Sin is at the top, shown leading his army up the mountain to victory. We know that the figure is meant to represent a king by the headgear and the clothing that he wears. Naram-Sin also looks the most powerful. His arms are muscular, he's larger than everybody, and he holds many weapons. Beneath him, if we move downward, the scene is split in half, where on the left we see his army, who look disciplined and organized, while on the right we see chaos and violence. The composition on the right is much more staggered. The figures are also placed within nature, making them appear more wild and less regimented. This is definitely a depiction of war, and also of victory. In the scene, Naram-Sin's army is victorious over the mountain people, who, if we look closely, are being slaughtered. We have men falling, we see a man with an arrow through his neck, we see a man underneath Naram-Sin's feet, and we see people begging and pleading for their lives. At the very top, we see 2 suns. These suns are a representation of the gods looking down on Naram-Sin and his army. There is a feeling here that Naram-Sin himself is depicted as more than human, as a god himself. In fact, the helmet he is wearing also is representation of what the Akkadian gods would wear. But it also shows Naram-Sin gazing up at the stars, showing that even though Naram-Sin is represented as a god, he is still not the most powerful of gods, and he is still human. Every figure in this composition is looking up at Naram-Sin. If you look very closely, we see writing. This is cuneiform writing. In fact, Naram-Sin left a little description here, explaining his victory. There is a description declaring his own victory and tells us how the stele was carried out of the village after the pillage of the Lulubi people.